How many times have you found yourself in the midst of a challenge, a desire so impossible, so far beyond your current circumstances, that you wondered if you could ever make it a reality? Have you ever felt the grip of doubt creep in as you reached for something that seemed out of your grasp? Well, what if I told you that it's okay to doubt? And even that doubt is part of the process of manifestation. Today, I'm here to share with you a personal experience, an experience that changed everything for me, a story of how I manifested something I once believed was impossible. And trust me, it wasn't a straight path. It was a journey through doubt, fear, and uncertainty, yet I stood on the other side with the realization that it was all part of the process. You see, this all started in a time when I had a wish, a deep yearning that seemed entirely out of reach. I had no evidence in my life to suggest that it was possible. My circumstances screamed against it. My present reality pushed back on every desire I held, and the doubt, oh, the doubt was overwhelming. But here's the secret I want to share with you today. It's okay to doubt. You don't need to feel like you must be in constant faith. You don't have to be perfect in your thoughts. The power is in how you handle that doubt. I had a vision, a deep, burning desire. It was something that was impossible by all worldly standards. It was beyond my reach, beyond logic, and yet there it was in my mind's eye, as vivid and real as anything. I didn't know how it would manifest. In fact, I didn't even know if it could manifest. But I felt its reality. I could taste it. And this is where the secret of manifestation lies, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Your imagination is not a mere fantasy. It is the creative force that shapes your reality. When you dare to imagine something that seems impossible, you are beginning the process of manifestation. Assume the feeling. It's not enough to just want something. You must assume the feeling of having it. Feel as though your desire has already been fulfilled. This feeling will imprint upon your subconscious and will act as a magnet for the physical manifestation. Too many people fear doubt. They think doubt means they are failing. But let me tell you, doubt is simply an expression of the mind testing its beliefs. You can doubt, and still the manifestation will unfold. How you handle the doubt is what matters most. The law works whether you believe it or not. You must assume that what you desire is already yours, even when the evidence says otherwise. This assumption will move you toward the reality you wish to create. Doubt will come, but persistence in the assumption will win out. Stay with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, regardless of the circumstances. Persistence in this feeling is what brings about the desired change. The power of belief in impossibilities. When you believe something is impossible, you have already established a limitation. To manifest the impossible, you must first remove the idea that anything is beyond your reach. Nothing is impossible if you can imagine it. Your subconscious mind does not argue with you. It simply accepts the thoughts and feelings you impress upon it. It will bring about your desires in physical form if you continually impress the feeling of already having what you want. Trust the process. The process may not always be clear. The steps may not be evident. But trust the power within you. Every doubt, every fear, every moment of uncertainty is part of the unfolding. I didn't know the how, and you don't need to know either. I simply believed in the feeling of it, and I persisted in that feeling despite the doubts, despite the limitations. And in time, what seemed impossible became a reality. I encourage you, don't shy away from doubt. It's not a sign of failure. It's a part of the human experience. But remember, it is not your doubts that shape your life. It is the feeling you hold true, the feeling of your wish fulfilled. When you have a desire, whether it's for wealth, health, love, or success, It is not the outer circumstances that will bring this desire into your life. No, it is the inner work, the thoughts, the images, the feelings that you nurture and cultivate. When you truly begin to understand this, you realize that you are the creator of your own experience. Think of it this way. Everything you perceive with your senses, everything that exists in your life right now, was once a thought. It might seem a strange idea at first, but let's break it down. The chair you sit in, the clothes you wear, the phone in your hand, all these things started as a thought in the mind of someone. That thought grew and expanded, taking form as a mental image, and through persistent imagining, it became a tangible object that you now experience in your reality. Now, when I speak of imagination, I'm not referring to idle daydreams. I am speaking of a purposeful, deliberate, and focused use of the mind's ability to create. This is the power that lies within each of us. You must recognize that everything that exists in the world first existed as a mental image, and this includes the impossible things you desire. You might be wondering, if I want something that seems utterly out of reach, a dream too grand, a desire too far beyond my present circumstances, how can my imagination help me bring it to life? The answer lies in your ability to accept that imagination is not bound by the limitations of your current situation. Your imagination has no boundaries, no restrictions. It can travel to places far beyond where your physical self can go, and it can manifest experiences that seem inconceivable in the material world. But here's the key. For your imagination to create the life you want, you must immerse yourself fully in the feeling of having already attained your desire. Let me explain. When you begin imagining your desire, you are not simply thinking about it as a future possibility. You are not merely wishing for it to happen. You must feel what it would be like to have it now. You must embody the state of already having it. This feeling is not just an abstract idea. It is the seed from which your desire will grow. Now, I understand that this might sound difficult at first. The mind will argue. It will say, this isn't real. I can't feel what I don't have. But that is where your power lies, in your ability to control the mind, to transcend the doubts and the limitations that the physical senses try to impose on you. The feelings you experience in imagination are real. They are more real than the physical world, for the physical world is but a reflection of the inner world. When you give yourself to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you completely accept it as if it were already true, the physical world must align to reflect that assumption. This is the power of your imagination. It creates the reality you desire. When you dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you send a clear message to your subconscious mind, which in turn directs the actions, people, and circumstances to bring your imagined reality into physical form. There is an undeniable law that governs the universe. As within, so without. This means that what you hold within you, in your thoughts and in your imagination, must eventually be reflected in your outer world. Your imagination is a mold, and the world around you is the substance that will conform to it. The clearer and more vivid the images you impress upon your mind, the more quickly the outer world will reflect these images. The challenge for most people is not the process itself, it's the doubt. You might wonder, how can I believe in something that seems so impossible? But this is the beauty of imagination. It is not bound by what is possible, it is only bound by what you are willing to believe. You must let go of the need to know how it will happen and instead focus on the feeling of it already being true. Imagination does not need proof, for it is the proof. It creates the path where none seem to exist. One of the most powerful aspects of imagination is that it is not subject to the limitations of time or space. When you imagine, you are not confined by the present moment. You can imagine yourself already in the state of having your desire, and in doing so, you experience the future in the present moment. This is why imagination is so potent. It allows you to transcend the limitations of the now and enter into the feeling of the fulfilled desire. The more you practice using your imagination in this way, the more natural it becomes. It begins to feel real. And when it feels real, The outer world has no choice but to reflect that feeling. It is as though the world must reshape itself to mirror the images you hold in your mind. The more you persist in this imaginative act, the more tangible your desires become. You must never underestimate the power of your imagination. It is the force that creates all things. By imagining what you want, by feeling it is real, you are calling it into being. The impossible becomes possible. The dream becomes reality, and what was once out of reach becomes your new experience. This is the power within you, a power that lies dormant until you choose to awaken it through your imagination. So begin today. Imagine boldly, imagine vividly, and never doubt that what you imagine is already on its way to you. To truly understand the power of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you must recognize that the law of assumption is one of the most profound and transformative truths you can embrace. It is not enough to simply desire something or think about it occasionally. You must assume that it is already yours. The power is in your ability to feel it as real here and now. This is where the true shift occurs, when your inner world aligns with the outer world and the imagined reality begins to take form. You see, when you imagine something, it is not merely a mental exercise. It is the beginning of a process where you are actively creating and molding your reality. But for this creation to come into being, you must adopt the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as if it has already been realized. It's not enough to hope, wish, or dream. You must assume, without any doubt, that it has already come to pass. The feeling of your wish fulfilled is the force that propels your desires from the unseen into the seen. This assumption is not based on logic or reason. The mind will constantly seek to question the possibility of your desire. It will remind you of the obstacles, the limitations, and the evidence that your wish cannot possibly be true. But this is where you must learn to stand firm. The assumption of the wish fulfilled requires you to disregard what you see with your eyes and instead focus on what you feel in your heart and mind. Your imagination must not be limited by the present conditions. Your imagination must soar beyond the boundaries of what is now and dwell in the realm of possibility of what can be. It may be difficult at first because you are so accustomed to living by the evidence of your senses. The world around you speaks loudly of what is, but you must not be deceived by appearances. What you see today is the result of thoughts, assumptions, and beliefs that were held in the past. The reality you experience is the outcome of what you have believed to be true. And this is the key. If you wish to change your reality, you must change what you assume to be true. You must feel that what you desire is already yours. Feel the fullness of it, the satisfaction, the joy, the peace that comes with having it. For instance, if you desire a new job, don't merely wish for it. Don't simply think about it from a distance, wondering how it will happen or when it will happen. Assume that you already have the job. Feel what it would be like to receive the offer, to walk into your new office, to do the work you love. Feel the excitement, the sense of accomplishment, the pride in knowing that you've secured this opportunity. By dwelling in this feeling, you are impressing your subconscious mind with the belief that this is already a part of your life. And once your subconscious accepts this belief, it must bring it into reality. The process of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled also involves living and acting in alignment with the assumption that your desire has already manifested. This means you begin to make decisions, take actions, and even think in ways that reflect the reality of your wish fulfilled. If you are imagining yourself in a new job, begin to act as though you are already employed in that position. Dress the part, speak the part, and carry yourself with the confidence of someone who is already experiencing the success they desire. Your actions must mirror the assumption you've made in your mind. This is not a superficial act. It is a reflection of the inner conviction that you have already attained your desire. When you do this, you are aligning yourself with the natural flow of the universe. The universe is always responding to your inner state, to the feeling and assumption you are holding. It does not respond to your words or your surface-level desires. It responds to your inner belief, your inner knowing. This is why assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is so powerful. It bypasses the doubt and the fear that arise when you try to figure out the how of your manifestation. The universe does not need you to figure out the details. It simply needs you to believe in the end result, to feel it as already true. As you persist in assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you will begin to notice subtle changes around you. People will begin to treat you differently. Opportunities will arise that seem to be in perfect alignment with your desire, and circumstances will shift to accommodate the assumption you've made. This is the law at work, the law that says your inner state of assumption determines your outer circumstance. The world must conform to the state you assume. When you assume that something is already true, the universe must rearrange itself to match that assumption. One of the most important things to remember is that you must not be swayed by the outer evidence. The mind will continue to try to bring your attention back to the physical world, showing you all the reasons why your desire seems impossible. But this is when your persistence must take over. Your assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled must remain strong, no matter what your senses tell you. Do not let the outer world dictate your inner state. Stay rooted in the assumption that what you desire is already yours, and the outer world will have no choice but to follow suit. This is the true power of the law of assumption. It gives you the ability to create your reality by assuming the feelings, the states, and the beliefs of the life you want. You are not waiting for the world to change before you feel happy, successful, or loved. You are taking the first step by assuming that you are already in the state you wish to occupy. You are not asking for permission from the world to be happy, wealthy, or loved. You are assuming that you already are those things, and that assumption will shape your experience. In the end, the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the key to unlocking the life you desire. When you assume it, feel it, and live it, you align yourself with the natural flow of creation. Your desires must manifest because you have already accepted them as reality. The universe does not withhold. It only reflects what is within you. So take the time to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to live as though your desire has already manifested, and watch as your outer world begins to mirror your inner state. Doubt is not the enemy of manifestation, as many might assume. It is not something that you need to fear or push away when it arises. In fact, doubt is the natural part of the process, and understanding this is crucial to mastering the art of manifestation. The mind is constantly active, constantly presenting thoughts and questions, and it will often try to undermine your desires. But it is in this very moment of doubt that you have an opportunity to strengthen your belief and further solidify your desires. Doubt is not a signal that you are failing or doing something wrong. It is a part of the process of creation, and it can be used to your advantage. You see, the mind will frequently question what it cannot see or understand. When you are attempting to manifest something that feels far beyond your current circumstances, the mind will naturally introduce doubt. It will present reasons why what you desire is not possible based on past experiences, current reality, or even logical reasoning. It will try to pull you back to the familiar, to the reality you already know, because the unknown feels uncomfortable. But the key here is to recognize that doubt is simply an expression of the mind's resistance to change. It is not a sign that your desire is unattainable, but rather that you are stepping out of your comfort zone and challenging the status quo. In this moment of doubt, the important thing is not to give in to fear or despair, but to recognize that the doubt itself is a part of the manifestation process. It is only when you begin to question the reality of your desire, or to believe that the doubt is stronger than your desire, that you begin to slow down the manifestation process. But if you can understand that doubt is simply a sign that you are pushing against the limitations of your current belief system, you will see it as an opportunity to deepen your conviction. Doubt becomes dangerous only when you allow it to dictate your actions or thoughts. When doubt arises, you must acknowledge it without fear and then reaffirm the assumption you are making, that your desire is already realized. You must persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even when doubt clouds your mind. The feeling of your wish fulfilled must be stronger than the doubt. And the more you persist in the feeling, the more the doubt will fade. The key is to persist despite the doubt, not to give in to it. The human mind is incredibly powerful, and it is capable of transforming reality. However, it is also prone to doubt and skepticism, especially when the results don't show up immediately. The power of manifestation is not in the speed with which things appear, but in the consistency and persistence of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you allow doubt to override your assumptions, you will find yourself constantly oscillating between belief and disbelief, between desire and fear. But if you can acknowledge the doubt, experience it, and then choose to focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are strengthening your position and solidifying your manifestation. There is a vital principle at work here. The law of assumption works regardless of the doubt. Your ability to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled is not diminished by doubt. The universe does not care whether you are feeling doubt or feeling certainty. What matters is the feeling that you hold consistently. The law of assumption responds to your feelings, not to the reasoning behind your thoughts. When you persist in the feeling of having already attained your desire, the physical world must reflect this assumption, even if the evidence has not yet appeared. It's important to realize that doubt often arises because you are moving toward a new experience, one that is outside of your current framework of understanding. The mind will attempt to protect you by telling you that what you want is too far out of reach, too impossible to attain. But what you must understand is that the mind is simply reacting to the unfamiliar. It is offering you doubt because it is afraid of change. However, you are not your mind. You are the one who controls the mind, and you have the ability to direct it toward the truth of your desires. The way to overcome doubt is not to fight it or push it away, but to persist in your assumption. When doubt arises, you do not need to argue with it or resist it. Instead, you simply choose to remain focused on the assumption of your desire already being fulfilled. You continue to feel the reality of your desire, even in the face of doubt. Over time, as you persist in this feeling, the doubt will begin to diminish. The more you affirm the truth of your desire, the more the doubt will lose its power. There is also something important to understand about the nature of the subconscious mind. Your subconscious does not distinguish between what is imagined and what is real. It takes whatever you impress upon it and makes it your reality. So even if doubt arises, as long as you continue to persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your subconscious will begin to accept this feeling as truth. It will begin to align your actions, thoughts, and circumstances with the assumption you are holding. This is why it is so important to remain steadfast, to stay focused on the end result. Even when doubt creeps in, continue to assume that your desire has already manifested. Continue to feel the joy, the satisfaction, the peace, and the gratitude as though you are already living your desired reality. Your ability to maintain this assumption will determine the speed and effectiveness of your manifestation. The more you persist, the more the world will begin to reflect the state you are assuming. Understand that doubt is simply a temporary disruption. It is a sign that you are on the verge of something new, something unfamiliar. It is not a reason to give up. It is a signal that you are pushing beyond your current limitations and entering into a new state of being. Embrace the doubt as part of the journey and continue to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. The world will follow as it always does, and your desire will eventually manifest before your eyes. The idea of persistence is often misunderstood. Many people believe that persistence simply means trying over and over again, without any real understanding of the deeper mechanics at play. In truth, persistence is not about brute force or constant repetition. It is about remaining faithful to the assumption of the wish fulfilled, no matter what. It is the unwavering commitment to your desire, the inner conviction that what you wish for is already on its way to you, even if the outer world is yet to reflect this truth. When you desire something, you are naturally confronted with a choice. Will you hold firm to your belief that it is already yours, or will you allow the circumstances, doubts, and setbacks to sway you? The most important aspect of persistence is not the external efforts you make, but the inner effort to hold the image of your desire steady in your mind and feel its reality, no matter the circumstances. It is in this moment of persistence that the unseen becomes seen, and what was once impossible. You must understand that the universe responds to your assumptions, your inner beliefs, your feelings, and not to your physical actions. While the world may try to show you all the reasons why your desire cannot be fulfilled, it is your unwavering assumption that creates your reality. Persistence in this sense is the consistent and deliberate act of maintaining your assumption, no matter what the outer world presents to you. It is not a matter of working harder or pushing harder, but of maintaining the belief that your wish is already fulfilled and living from that state. Imagine for a moment that you are trying to manifest a new job. You may not yet have any evidence that this job is on its way. You may be faced with rejection letters or signs that suggest that your dream job is out of reach. But persistence is the act of continuing to imagine yourself already in that job, feeling the joy, the satisfaction, the relief of having finally secured the position, even when the world tells you otherwise. Persistence is not about waiting for the job to appear before you can feel the joy. Instead, it is about feeling the joy of already having the job and continuing to live from that feeling, knowing that the outer world must eventually reflect this inner assumption. The reason why persistence works so powerfully in the process of manifestation is that it aligns your subconscious mind with your desires. Your subconscious is not influenced by the appearance of the world. It is influenced by the consistent assumption of the end result. When you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the subconscious begins to accept this as the truth, and it begins to work behind the scenes to bring your desire into your experience. The actions, people, opportunities, and circumstances that are necessary to fulfill your desire begin to fall into place. But this can only happen if you are steadfast in your belief that your desire is already a part of your life. The key here is not to focus on how things are going to happen or when they will happen. That is not your job. Your job is to remain persistent in the assumption of your desire. When you focus on the how, you are taking the power away from your imagination and giving it to the external world. You must trust that the how will come as a result of your persistence in the assumption of the end result. The how is not your concern. The end result, the fulfillment of your desire, is what you must hold on to. Persistence requires faith. Faith in the process, in the power of your imagination, and in the law that governs your reality. When you persist, you are showing the universe that you trust it to bring your desire to fruition. You are telling the universe that you believe in your own power to create the reality you want. The more you persist in this way, the more natural and effortless the process becomes, and the more you begin to see the changes in your outer world. It is also important to understand that persistence is not about forcing something to happen. This is not an exercise in willpower. The persistence I speak of is the persistence of feeling and assumption. You do not need to push or exert effort to bring your desire into being. Instead, you must persist in the assumption that your desire is already yours. This feeling of already having it is the key to the law of attraction, the law of assumption, because the universe can only respond to the state of mind and feeling you consistently embody. When you persist in the assumption of your desire, the world around you must rearrange itself to match your inner belief. You might wonder how long it will take for your desire to manifest. The answer is that it will manifest as soon as you fully accept it as already true. There is no set time frame, because time is a reflection of your state of consciousness. When you persist in assuming that your desire is already fulfilled, time will bend to reflect that assumption. Your persistence in the inner world will eventually lead to the manifestation in the outer world. It's not about waiting for something to happen. It's about living from the state of already having what you desire. Think of persistence as planting a seed. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. You simply trust that it will grow and you continue to water it. In the same way, when you persist in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are watering the seed of your desire. The seed will eventually sprout and grow, but only because you continue to trust in the process, to persist in the assumption that it is already coming to fruition. The more you persist in this feeling, the more you reinforce it in your subconscious mind, and the faster the outer world must reflect it. In the end, persistence is about cultivating a steadfast belief that what you desire is already yours. It is not about forcing things to happen or about trying to control the external world. It is about remaining true to the assumption that your desire is already a part of your life and allowing the universe to bring it to you in its perfect timing and form. Persistence is the bridge between your inner world and the outer world, and it is the key to unlocking the fulfillment of your desires. When you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are creating the conditions for your desires to manifest. The concept of living in the end is often misunderstood, yet it is one of the most powerful principles you can grasp in the process of manifestation. To truly understand the power of living in the end, you must recognize that the end result of your desire is not something that will come to you in the future. The end result is already present, and it is your task to shift your perception and live from that end result. By doing so, you begin to align yourself with the reality you wish to create, and the universe will respond accordingly. Living in the end is not about waiting for your desires to materialize in the physical world. It is about embodying the feeling of already having them. The world you see around you is a reflection of your internal state. Every experience, every situation, and every outcome is a mirror of the assumptions and beliefs you hold deep within you. The external world does not dictate what is possible for you, your inner world does. Therefore, when you choose to live in the end, you are choosing to focus your attention and energy on the fulfilled state of your desire rather than the lack of it. By doing so, you remove the gap between where you are now and where you wish to be. You no longer focus on the how or the when of your desire, but instead, you focus solely on the feeling of already having it. This is the key to manifesting your desires with power and precision. Living in the end means that you must embrace the feeling of your desire as if it has already come to pass. You cannot continue to live in the state of lack and expect to manifest abundance. The feeling of lack will only attract more lack into your life. If you are waiting for something to happen before you feel good, before you feel successful, or before you feel loved, you are missing the point of manifestation. You must feel the fulfillment of your desire now. The external world is simply a reflection of what is happening within you. So, if you desire a new relationship, for instance, you must begin to feel the love and connection as if the relationship already exists. You must begin to embody the feelings of being loved, cherished, and appreciated right now, in the present moment. When you begin to live in the end, you are no longer waiting for the world to change in order to feel better. Instead, you are choosing to feel better now, knowing that the world will reflect that inner shift. The world is simply a mirror. It reflects the inner assumptions, beliefs, and feelings that you hold about yourself and the world around you. If you are constantly waiting for the outer world to give you the approval, the love, the success, or the abundance you seek, you will find that it continues to elude you. However, when you choose to live in the end, you are choosing to create that feeling from within. You are no longer waiting for things to change. Instead, you are assuming that the end result of your desire is already true. This shift in perception is incredibly powerful because it moves you from a state of lack and waiting to a state of abundance and fulfillment. By focusing on the end result and living from the feeling of already having it, you are aligning yourself with the energy of your desire. The universe responds to your vibration. It responds to the energy you are putting out. If you are putting out the energy of already having your desire, the universe must bring it to you in its own time and manner. The law of assumption operates on the principle that what you assume to be true must come to pass. When you live in the end, you are assuming that your desire is already fulfilled, and therefore it must manifest. Living in the end is not just a mental exercise, it is a lifestyle. It is not enough to simply think about your desire and wish for it to come true. You must embody the feeling of already having it, both mentally and emotionally. This means that you must align your thoughts, actions, and energy with the end result. If you desire financial abundance, you must begin to think, speak, and act as though you are already financially free. If you desire a successful career, you must begin to act as if you are already successful in your field, even if the external evidence is not yet present. When you align yourself with the end result, you are no longer waiting for things to change. You are becoming the change. It is important to understand that living in the end is not about forcing yourself to feel something that you do not yet feel. It is about aligning your thoughts and feelings with the truth of your desire. You are not pretending or faking it until you make it. Instead, you are acknowledging the truth of your inner state and focusing on the end result as if it has already been fulfilled. The key is in feeling the fulfillment of your desire now. When you do this, you are shifting your energy, and the world must follow suit. One of the greatest obstacles that people face in this process is the fear of not having it yet. This fear creates a gap between the desire and its manifestation. But when you choose to live in the end, you are closing that gap. You are no longer focusing on the lack, the waiting, or the doubt. Instead, you are choosing to focus solely on the fulfillment of your desire. This is the key to overcoming resistance and doubt. When you live in the end, there is no gap to bridge because you are already living the reality of your desire. Living in the end also involves trusting the process. You must trust that the universe is always working in your favor, bringing your desire into your life in perfect timing. The timing is not up to you. Your job is to focus on the feeling of already having what you desire. The details of how and when will unfold naturally. Trust that your assumption is already being fulfilled and allow the universe to bring the details to you. You do not need to figure out the how. You simply need to feel the end result as true. In summary, living in the end is about aligning yourself with a feeling of already having what you desire. It is not about waiting for things to change in the external world. It is about changing your inner state to reflect the fulfillment of your desire. When you live from this state of fulfillment, you are naturally attracting the circumstances, people, and opportunities that align with your desires. The more you persist in this state, the more quickly your desires will manifest in your outer reality. Your job is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and to trust the process. The universe will always reflect your inner world. The concept of detachment is often misunderstood when it comes to the process of manifestation. Many believe that detachment means letting go of the desire entirely, as if it is something that you no longer care about. However, detachment is not about abandoning your desire or resigning yourself to the belief that it cannot be achieved. Instead, it is about letting go of the neediness or the attachment to the outcome, the idea that you need the desire to manifest in a particular way or by a specific time. Detachment is not a rejection of your desire. It is a freedom from the emotional weight of doubt, anxiety, and impatience that often accompanies the desire for manifestation. When you focus on a desire, it is natural to want it, to feel as if it will complete you or solve a problem. However, when you become overly attached to the outcome, the energy surrounding your desire shifts. This attachment stems from the belief that you must have it now in order to be happy or fulfilled. When you think of your desire as something you need to feel better, you are actually sending out a signal of lack. You are implying that you do not already have what you seek, and that feeling of lack is a powerful force that can delay or even prevent your manifestation from occurring. Therefore, the key to successful manifestation lies in finding the balance between desiring something and being detached from the outcome. Detachment is the act of releasing the urgency and emotional charge around your desire, while still maintaining the belief that your desire is already fulfilled. When you detach, you do not obsess over the specifics of how or when it will come to you. You do not constantly check for signs or worry if your desire is manifesting at the speed you think it should. Instead, you trust that the desire has already been fulfilled in your inner world, and you allow the universe to unfold the manifestation in its own perfect timing. A common mistake people make is trying to force their desires to come into fruition, whether by focusing on them obsessively, performing rituals, or overthinking the details. While intention and focused thought are important, the energy behind the desire is what matters most. When you are overly attached to the outcome, you are not in alignment with your desire, and this misalignment can create resistance. Resistance comes from the belief that the outcome is uncertain, or that it must happen in a certain way. However, detachment involves trusting that the universe will deliver exactly what you need, even if the method or timing is different from what you had expected. Detachment, therefore, is not about surrendering your desire. It is about surrendering to the process and allowing the universe to work on your behalf. One of the most profound aspects of detachment is the ability to feel good now, regardless of whether your desire has manifested yet. If you believe that you must wait for your desire to come into your life before you can feel happy, fulfilled, or complete, you are actually delaying its manifestation. You must learn to feel the way you want to feel now, not because your desire has appeared, but because feeling good is your natural state. This is the secret to manifesting quickly and effortlessly. When you feel good and are in alignment with your desire, the universe can deliver it to you with ease. The less emotionally charged you are about the outcome, the faster it can come to you. To live in detachment, you must also let go of the need for external validation or signs that your desire is on the way. Many people become obsessed with looking for clues or signs that their manifestation is coming. While signs can be a form of guidance, they should never be relied upon as proof that the manifestation is on track. Your belief in your desire's fulfillment is what matters, not the external signs. If you are looking for validation from the outside world, you are still anchored in a state of lack. Instead, you must trust that the inner state of fulfillment and contentment is enough. When you are detached from the need for validation, you are free to experience the fulfillment of your desire without worrying about how or when it will appear. Another powerful aspect of detachment is learning to trust that everything is unfolding perfectly, even if you cannot see it with your physical eyes. The moment you let go of the emotional attachment to the outcome, you create space for the universe to bring your desire to you in its perfect form. You may not always understand how or when your manifestation will appear, but you must trust that it will, and that it will come to you in the best possible way. This trust is a vital part of detachment because it removes the resistance that often builds up when you feel like something is not happening fast enough or in the way you want it to. Letting go of attachment also means allowing the universe to bring your desire in unexpected ways. When you are attached to the way things should happen, you limit the possibilities for how your desires can manifest. Detachment allows for creativity and flow, enabling the universe to bring opportunities and solutions that you may not have even considered. You no longer have to micromanage the process or figure out how things will unfold. Instead, you are able to remain open and receptive to all the different ways your desires can manifest. The practice of detachment also requires the ability to accept the present moment, regardless of what is happening in the external world. This does not mean resigning yourself to a life of complacency or passivity. Rather, it means finding peace and contentment right where you are. When you are able to enjoy the present moment fully, without the constant yearning for the future, you allow your desires to come to you naturally. The more you practice detachment, the more you will find that the world around you becomes a reflection of your inner peace. The desires you once thought you needed to chase or struggle for will come effortlessly when you detach from the outcome. Ultimately, detachment is about trusting in the process and understanding that you are already whole, already abundant, and already worthy. Your desires do not define you. They are simply a natural extension of the life you are creating, and they will unfold in perfect harmony with the rest of your life. When you practice detachment, you allow the natural flow of abundance to enter your life without resistance, fear, or impatience. You understand that your desires are already on their way, and you can rest in the peace that comes from knowing that everything is unfolding in divine timing. When you release attachment and allow the universe to work on your behalf, the impossible becomes possible. The power of faith is often misunderstood in the context of manifestation. Many people believe that faith is simply a matter of wishing for something with hope and belief that it will come true. However, true faith is far more profound and subtle. Faith is not the passive act of hoping for something to happen in the future. It is the active assumption of the thing as already done. Faith, in the context of manifestation, means living from the end, assuming the wish fulfilled, and trusting that the inner assumption will bring about the outer result. To truly understand faith, we must first recognize that faith is not a belief in the possibility of something happening, but a belief in the certainty that it has already happened. When you have faith in your desire, you do not wonder, will it happen, or can it really be done? Instead, you live with the certainty that it already exists in the unseen world, and you move through life from that perspective. Faith requires that you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, without allowing doubt or disbelief to sway you. Faith is the foundation of all manifestation, as it is the internal force that sets the law of assumption in motion. Without faith, the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled cannot take root in your subconscious mind. If you doubt the fulfillment of your desire, you are essentially undermining the entire process. Faith is the trust in the unseen and the assurance that what you desire is already on its way to you, even if the physical evidence has not yet appeared. The more you build and strengthen your faith in this process, the faster and more powerfully your desires will manifest. Faith is also deeply tied to confidence. When you have faith, you are not swayed by the circumstances or by what others may say. You have confidence in the unseen, knowing that your inner world will create your outer world. This confidence is rooted in your ability to remain steadfast in the assumption of the end result, no matter how things appear in the present. The key to faith is the inner conviction that your desire is already true. This conviction is what moves you through doubt and fear, keeping you aligned with your desire, even when the outer world tells you otherwise. True faith requires you to embrace the unseen. You must have faith that the reality you are assuming in your mind is just as real as the physical reality you see around you. In fact, the unseen reality is the more important of the two because it precedes the visible world. The physical world is a mere reflection of your inner world. If you desire something, you must first create it in your imagination and then maintain faith in its fulfillment. You must live from the perspective of the wish fulfilled, knowing that the unseen will eventually materialize in the physical world. This requires the courage to trust in something that is not yet visible to the naked eye. Faith is not something that you can force or manufacture. It is the natural byproduct of persistence in the assumption that your desire is already true. When you repeatedly assume the end result of your desire, you begin to build faith in the process. Each time you live from the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you strengthen your faith and the desire becomes more real to you. The more you live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the more faith you have that it is already coming to pass. Many people struggle with faith because they look to the external world for evidence that their desire is on the way. They wonder, why isn't it here yet, or when will it happen? However, this approach is counterproductive. Faith does not need evidence from the outside world. Faith is the belief that the unseen is just as real as the seen. It is knowing that the universe is always responding to your inner assumptions and that everything you desire is already on its way. When you have faith, you do not need external proof to believe that your desire is being fulfilled. You trust in the process, in the law of assumption, and in your own ability to create your reality. The act of faith is not about trying to force the world to change to meet your desires. It is about changing your inner state, your thoughts, and your feelings so that they align with your desires. Faith requires that you trust your inner world to create your outer world, and that you believe the fulfillment of your desire is already a part of your reality. When you assume that your desire is already fulfilled, The world will respond in kind. The universe will rearrange itself to bring your desire to fruition, and it will do so in the most efficient and harmonious way possible. The process of strengthening faith in your desires begins with consistent practice. Each time you imagine the fulfillment of your desire and live in the feeling of it, you are building faith. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, and the more you trust that your desire is already true. Over time, your faith will become unshakable, and the manifestation of your desires will unfold as a natural consequence of your belief. One of the greatest challenges to faith is the temptation to give up when things do not appear to be progressing quickly. This is when persistence becomes especially important. The outer world often reflects the inner conflict between faith and doubt. When you are wavering between belief and disbelief, the outer world will mirror that conflict. However, when you persist in the assumption of the end result, even in the face of doubt, you are reinforcing your faith and strengthening your connection to your desire. Faith is the refusal to give in to doubt. It is the commitment to maintaining the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, regardless of what your physical senses may be showing you. Faith, then, is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is the force that moves you from inner knowing to outer manifestation. Your faith in the process is what allows the world to reflect your desires. Faith is not a passive belief in something that may or may not happen. It is a living certainty that your desire has already been fulfilled and that the outer world must eventually catch up with your inner reality. When you live from the assumption of the end result, you are expressing true faith, and the universe will align itself to bring your desires into physical form. In the end, the strength of your faith determines the speed and certainty with which your desires manifest. Faith is the powerful force that moves the unseen world into the seen world, turning thoughts into things. When you build unwavering faith in the process, in your own power, and in the law of assumption, you will find that your desires come to fruition with ease and grace. The key to manifesting your desires is not in waiting for them to appear, but in having absolute faith that they have already been fulfilled. The power of living in a state of gratitude cannot be overstated when it comes to the art of manifestation. Gratitude is not merely a polite or socially expected response to good things that happen in life. It is an energetic state that aligns you with abundance and opens the floodgates to receiving more of what you desire. The feeling of gratitude is a powerful tool for manifestation because it automatically shifts your consciousness from a state of lack or wanting to a state of abundance and fulfillment. When you are in a state of gratitude, you are actively acknowledging and appreciating the fullness of life as it is, even before your desires have manifested in the physical world. This act of acknowledgement has a profound effect on your vibrational state. Gratitude is the emotional resonance that signals to the universe that you are already complete, that you are already in possession of all that you need. When you are grateful for what you already have, you create a magnetic field of positivity that draws more reasons to be grateful into your life. This is the very essence of the law of attraction. Like attracts like, and when you focus on what you are grateful for, you naturally attract more of it. Gratitude as a feeling is an energy that permeates every part of your being. It is the energy of receiving and being open to the abundance that surrounds you. Gratitude opens your heart and allows you to experience the present moment in its fullness, without focusing on what you lack or what is missing. When you are grateful, you are not waiting for the future to bring you fulfillment or success. Instead, you are acknowledging that everything you need is already available to you in the present moment. You are recognizing the abundance in your life right now, and as a result, you naturally begin to attract more abundance into your experience. One of the key principles of manifestation is the idea that what you focus on expands. When you focus on the absence of something or the lack of something, you reinforce the belief that you do not have it. And that feeling of lack will continue to show up in your experience. However, when you focus on the presence of what you desire, When you express genuine gratitude for the things you already have and for the things you wish to receive, you create a powerful momentum that aligns you with the energy of your desires. Gratitude shifts your focus away from the obstacles and limitations you may perceive, and instead places your attention on the blessings and the opportunities that are already present in your life. The act of feeling grateful for something you want to manifest may seem counterintuitive at first. After all, if you want something, why should you feel grateful for it before it has even appeared? The secret lies in the feeling of already having it. Gratitude is not about waiting for your desires to manifest before you feel grateful. It is about embodying the feeling of having already received them. This feeling of gratitude is an expression of your assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. When you feel gratitude for what you desire, as if it is already yours, you are effectively living from the end result, which is the key to manifestation. It is important to recognize that gratitude is not a passive or conditional feeling. You do not wait for external circumstances to make you feel grateful. Instead, you choose gratitude as a state of being, regardless of the current circumstances. This is why gratitude is so powerful. It does not rely on the external world for validation. When you practice gratitude in your life, you are aligning your inner world with the state of already having what you desire. The act of expressing gratitude for what you wish to manifest is in itself a vibrational match to the fulfilled desire. Gratitude is the bridge between your desire and its physical manifestation. Gratitude also has the power to transmute negative emotions and dissolve resistance. When you find yourself feeling impatient, doubtful, or frustrated with the pace of your manifestations, shifting into a state of gratitude can help dissolve those feelings of lack and frustration. Instead of focusing on what is not yet here, you redirect your attention to what is already present in your life. This shift in focus can immediately improve your emotional state and align you with the frequency of abundance. When you are in a state of gratitude, you are not focusing on what you do not have. You are focusing on what you already have. And this shifts your vibration into alignment with the energy of abundance. Another powerful aspect of gratitude is its ability to magnify the energy of your desires. The more you feel grateful for the things you want, the more that energy amplifies. Gratitude is an incredibly magnetic energy. When you feel gratitude, in conclusion, the journey of manifestation is deeply rooted in the understanding that our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs create the reality we experience. It is not simply about wishing for something to happen, but about aligning ourselves with the end result we desire as if it is already ours. The process of manifestation requires the cultivation of faith, a deep trust in the unseen, and the ability to persist in the assumption that what we desire is already a reality. Throughout this journey, detachment plays a critical role, reminding us that we must not cling to the need for our desires to show up in a specific way or by a certain time. Instead, we trust that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, will deliver our desires in perfect timing and in ways that may surpass our expectations. By releasing the emotional charge around our desires and living in a state of gratitude, we align ourselves with abundance and open the channels for our desires to manifest effortlessly. As we move forward in this process, we must remember that our inner world shapes the outer world. The key to manifestation lies not in waiting for circumstances to change, but in changing ourselves internally to match the vibration of the reality we seek. By embodying the feeling of the wish fulfilled and living from the end result, we allow our desires to unfold naturally. Ultimately, the power to manifest the impossible lies within us. The thoughts we choose to entertain, the beliefs we choose to hold, and the emotions we allow to guide us will determine the course of our reality. The law of assumption is not a mystery. It is the natural law that governs how the universe responds to our inner states. When we align ourselves with the vibration of our desires, trust in the process, and live in gratitude for the fulfillment of our wishes, we unlock the door to the limitless possibilities that await us. The impossible is only impossible until we believe otherwise, and once we do, we open the door to the extraordinary. The power to manifest is within us, waiting to be activated through our faith, our assumptions, and our unwavering trust in the creative power of our consciousness.